Hi, I'm Chris Giamo, and at TD Bank, we believe all citizens need to be informed about the important financial issues that affect their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by TD Bank, Englewood Health, PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. Delta Dental of New Jersey. Everyone deserves a healthy smile. New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation. MD Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey. And by Suez, water solutions to meet tomorrow's environmental challenges.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at that.
Life without dance is boring.
I don't care how good you are or how good you think you are, there is always something to learn.
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No.
People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
Such a good question. High five.
Every father looks forward to making a wedding for their little girl.
Okay, big smiles. Can you guys get it together?
Okay, yeah. Let's give me one more try.
That's good stuff. Get off of me and get on our guest who was just in there. Alison Strong, actor and singer. What were we just watching?
You were just watching a piece of my feature film debut, The Week Of, with Adam Sandler and Chris Rock.
How now? Is there anyone well known other than you in this? What's that guy's name?
It's Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, Rachel Dratch, Steve Buscemi, and me, miraculously.
Okay, born and raised in?
Born in Hoboken, raised in Union City, New Jersey. I'm a Hudson County girl and a New Jersey girl, basically.
Did you always know that you wanted to be who you are and what you are?
You know, my mom's a school psychologist in the school systems. Yes. Yeah, we just spoke about my mom, and I was a really shy kid, believe it or not.
No way.
Yeah, and so she put me in musical theater classes at Bergen Pack, which used to be John Harms Center for the Arts back in the day.
Pack is great.
And so they wouldn't give me any solos. My mom begged for a solo for me, and then at our class presentation, everyone was asking me who my voice teacher was and telling my mom that I would be on Broadway one day. And when I turned 18, that dream became a reality.
Talk about some of your credits. I hate when people use your credits.
I mean, okay, so...
Just brag. Go ahead, do it.
Bye Bye Birdie on Broadway, Mamma Mia on Broadway, The Blacklist, Dora and Friends, which is Dora the Explorer,
yes.
The Week Of.
That's by you and Bye Bye Birdie right there? Look at that right there.
Yeah, that is me. That is me in Bye Bye Birdie. That's the telephone hour. That was with John Stamos and Gina Gershon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
John Stamos, why is he not a better looking guy?
It's really a shame. He got hit with the ugly stick, didn't he?
He did, no?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's not go there.
He's beautiful. His kid's going to be gorgeous.
Is he right?
Yeah.
Right? So you knew at a young age, but you had this shy thing going on.
Yeah, I did.
And when it comes to this particular movie with Adam Sandler, describe the process of being selected, like you're the one, we want you.
I went to an audition. Just like every actor gets
quote unquote open or whatever that means?
It wasn't an open audition. It was my agent submitted me for the appointment. I said I wanted to go. I went to the audition, and I remember it was my first audition for that casting director. And I think they were shocked to meet me. Sarah in the movie is a very down-to-earth character, and she's so down-to-earth in the midst of all of this craziness, all these crazy preparations for her wedding. And then I had one callback with the director, Robert Smigel, who's actually a Jersey boy.
Yeah, he sure is.
He created Triumph, the comedy insult dog on Conan O'Brien, and he's a collaborator with Adam a lot. And I met him, and I met Alan Covert, who's the producer for Happy Madison. So it was literally one audition, one callback. Adam chose me, and that was it. I started a couple of weeks later.
So the theater in your life?
Yes.
Jersey, part of it, because Broadway is one thing, but before that?
Well, like I said, I started at John Harms, which is now Bergen Pack, but I did community theater with the Park Players in Hudson County. I did community theater in Glen Rock with the Gaslamp Players. Wow. I did children's theater at the Montclair Studio Players when I was a freshman in college. Actually, when I auditioned for Bye Bye Birdie, I had a children's matinee in Montclair of Little Women. And so I went at
My hometown. Keep talking.
Yeah, so at 4 o'clock in the morning, I was on the street in Manhattan in a sleeping bag. My mom was watching me as I slept to make sure that I would get my place in line and no one would cut me. I belted my song, and then I went straight to Montclair for my matinee of Little Women, and I got that part a month later.
Did your mom, who I just met,
Yeah. She's a love, isn't she?
she's absolutely wonderful. Let me ask it this way. How important has your mom been in what you've been able to do so far in your career?
Well, you know, she raised me alone. She's been integral. She's worked in the school system, and because of that schedule, she was afforded the opportunity, the ability to take me to auditions from the time I was really young. You know, there were nights where I was singing, because I used to sing also for a lot of dignitaries and heads of state when I started really young.
Where?
Here in New Jersey, I've performed for most of the governors since Christine Todd Whitman, actually. So I started when I was about 9 years old. And so she would drive me after school to these dinners.
Not Christine Whitman, your mom.
Not
Governor Whitman. I just want to clarify
my mom. She would drive me to these dinners, and I sung for Corzine as well.
Governor Christie as well?
And not Governor Christie.
Could that be arranged?
I've performed for McGreevy as well.
That's
and
right.
So my childhood was a lot of singing, a lot of running around, and she made that possible. And I think I can thank my stage presence and my confidence as a person. I got so much experience because she was willing and able to take me places.
Your background? Singer?
Actress.
Composer?
Yes.
Actress? What's the poet part?
The poet. When I was in high school.
Listen, I get research. It says you.
You did research. Well, when I was.
Actually, my producers have the research, and I said, she's a poet?
Well, I
What happened in
recite
2008?
poetry. Okay, in 2008, I was New Jersey's state champion for poetry out loud, and I was top 5 in the nation. So for reciting poetry, I mean, I was reciting Shakespeare, and I was reciting Sylvia Plath and Allen Ginsberg, and I managed to be top 5 when I was a senior in high school, and that was wonderful. It was very cool.
You know, for people who know our programming, know that I ask a lot of folks who happen to be performers in a very public way, a question that there's a theme to it, trust me.
Sure.
It's about dealing with rejection.
I know it well.
How did, and now how do? Hopefully you never will again, but you will because you get up at bat a lot.
I mean, this is the thing. Every audition, every day, the reality is not everyone's going to like you. I think the one thing that I've had to remember, because I've been auditioning professionally in a professional setting for about 8 years now. I started when I was like a freshman in college. And I think it's important to remember why you started and to remember that joy. The joy that I had when I started as a kid in community theater, the joy that I had when I was in those musical theater classes wanting that solo. I think it's important to remember that, to know why you're still doing it, and to bring that joy. Because if you're jaded, if you're upset or angry, people are going to know that and clock it.
You know, it's interesting, the math doesn't add up because you said 8 years. When you were 7, didn't you compete for some sort of jingle competition?
Not 7. I think I was about... Are we talking about Oscar Mayer? Because I was the Oscar Mayer Wiener girl.
Oscar Mayer Wiener, yes?
Yeah.
When an anchor does this, someone's telling him or her something.
Okay.
Oscar Mayer Wiener, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was 11 when I won the Hasta la Fama Oscar Mayer jingle contest in Spanish. They came to my local supermarket. My mom drove me, and she's like, "Belt, Allison, just sing."
Stop. This is in Union City?
Yeah, this was in Union City at the local supermarket, and the Wienermobile came, and it rolled over, and my mom was just like, "Allison," because I was still relatively shy at this point too, a little bit, so she said, "Allison, belt," and I sang it, and I won the competition. And
so fast forward,
Yeah.
a little bit more. By the way, why were you able to sing in Spanish?
My family's actually Colombian, believe it or not.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
And they came to the
My
States?
mom came my grandma came first. She was a Rockefeller Scholar, and she was a nurse for the Red Cross. And so she started in Houston, ended up at St. Mary's Hospital in Hoboken, and she brought the entire family. So my mom came when she was about 9 years old.
Before I let you go, real quick description again of the movie.
The week of, humble father trying to pay for his daughter's wedding without the help of the wealthier father, Chris Rock, and a lot of hijinks, a lot of fun, and it's a real family movie.
What was it like to work with Adam Sandler?
He's like a dad.
That's right?
That's what it feels like to me, and I told him consistently on set. That father-daughter dance felt so real for me, especially because usually films are shot out of order, but one of the last days of shooting, the last 2 weeks, we were filming the wedding, and it felt like it was my dad. We were crying for real. It was beautiful.
Promise you'll come back.
I will.
Allison Strong, actor, singer, composer, poet, and a very talented young lady from Union City, New Jersey. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Appreciate it. Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We are pleased to welcome Dr. Barna Donovan, professor of communications at St. Peter's University, author of a book called Confirmation, Investigations of the Unexplained. Good to see you, doctor.
Thank you for having me.
Let's disclose that we both have doctorates from a different university, Rutgers, and the same communications program.
Absolutely.
What do we just tell folks this? What's the key to getting your doctorate?
Just not quitting. Where you just get to a point where you say that I'm not going down. I'm going the distance on this,
That's right.
and I'm not going to stop.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'll get into conspiracy theories. I understand, folks. How about this? This whole conspiracy thing that you write about, theories. Mm-hmm. It didn't start with 9/11. So as a little kid, I remember a little bit later on, I started reading about the Kennedy assassination. Was that one of the first conspiracy theories? It couldn't have been, one shooter.
Mm-hmm. We've had conspiracy theories in American culture going back literally centuries. I mean, back to the founding of the country. You had people afraid of the Freemasons, afraid of the Illuminati. So it's something that's part of our culture. Actually, I would say it's probably part of human nature. To look for conspiracies, to look for people who have a lot of power, who might hang out, similar type of powerful people, and then ask these questions. Well, what are they up to behind those closed doors? It's got to be something. Yeah, it's got to be something. But yeah, for the because I teach a class on conspiracy theories as well, and
at St. Peter's.
At St. Peter's, conspiracy theories in entertainment and popular culture.
For example, give us a conspiracy theory based on some quote-unquote entertainment-related either person or story.
Entertainment-related conspiracy. You have conspiracies about Walt Disney, the way that that he might have been buried with his head removed. You have all kinds of odd speculations about what he might have.
Who's frozen? Who's not frozen?
Right, exactly. We're looking mainly though at the films and the conspiracy theory films and the sorts of things going on in society at the time they were made, and how those films are reflecting the times.
So let me ask you this, devil's advocate, I'm curious about this. Manchurian Candidate, is that an example of it?
Oh, that's one of the films that we watch.
Is that right?
It's one of our required
films. Because I remember my mom, my dad saying, I want you to watch, the whole Manchurian Candidate. I go, what? That can't be real. Some people believe that stuff is real.
Oh, about half of the American population believes in at least one conspiracy theory. And then usually people who believe very strongly in one, they're going to be open to many others as well. And Manchurian Candidate is such an interesting one because it's sort of you have double conspiracies going on there. The conspiracies by the communists and the conspiracies by the anti-communists.
That's right.
And so it's just a circular sort of a web of this really large scale corruption going on.
From a political perspective, and you weren't intending to make this political, and I won't either, but I'm curious. If the president, any president, but in this case President Trump, talks about the fact that there's a conspiracy theory, a conspiracy against me, that there's a quote-unquote deep state organizing against me together with the media. And by the way, some people may believe that's true. Who knows? Does that contribute to it? To people's belief that it can't just be the CIA, it can't just be the FBI, we just can't be in the media. We must all be together somewhere in a room figuring out how to take down a president.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, and he has been, and you said you don't want to make it too political, but it's a fact that he has been extremely skilled in touching that conspiratorial nerve in his base. Yes, originally, even before he announced officially that he wants to be the president, he was part of the birther movement, conspiracy theory right there.
President Obama wasn't even born here.
Sure, and
that was there's a conspiracy theory
absolutely.
that some people protected him, never get to see his college transcript. Like, people believe that stuff. But the 9/11 one is fascinating to me. People who do not believe that the horrific event took place on September 11th, 2001, that it wasn't really what we saw, that somehow it was an inside job. Give me a percentage of how many Americans you think actually believe some of that's true.
Latest count, I believe it's close to 20%. I believe, if the last number that I heard, I might be off on that, but it's a surprisingly high number, and apparently it's growing every year. That some of the growing. I mean, just like with JFK, that almost a majority of the population believes that the quote official story is not the real story. So the 9/11 conspiracy community is also growing.
Alex Jones. I don't want. Alex Jones is a public person who I believe he has a radio show. If I'm not mistaken. He says an awful lot of things, and one of them, I think, if I'm wrong, don't let me be wrong on this, team, that when those kids were killed in the school, I mean, there were too many Sandy Hook incident, horrific incident, that they were actors.
Right.
Like, what is that?
He calls
Sandy Hook case. What is that?
I know that's the question I'm asking. I mean, really, if for conspiracy theorists, when they're theorizing about aliens or Area 51, things like that, it's kind of fun. It's kind of strange.
There's nothing funny about this
one. But not exactly. That for me, this is crossing a line of human decency right there. And people like this, they're like grave robbers. They're going and exploiting the deaths of people on 9/11. Alex Jones, he's one of the loudest proponents of the 9/11 conspiracy.
Children? Innocent children in the school.
Right.
And Sandy Hook. I mean, and what about their parents grieving?
Sure.
Like they're not who we see they are.
Exactly. And egging on the conspiracy believers to start harassing the families.
So, Doctor, what are we to do?
I think that, and what I'm hoping to be doing as an academic is that education really has to step up and realize that this is a cultural phenomenon right now. That we're living in a world where not only it's not just that you have people who are going to these absolutely tasteless, sleazy extremes to exploit the deaths of children to get ratings on their radio shows. But we're having so many sections of the population who decide to live in their own reality. They will say, I believe that such and such is a conspiracy and you can't tell me anything otherwise. I believe that vaccines are going to cause autism.
Don't show me the facts.
Yeah, don't show me the facts.
I believe it.
I can go and show you. I can go and show people like that
the medical
studies.
Community's in cahoots.
Exactly, they're part of it.
No matter what you bring up,
they're part of it. So that's.
Yeah. Sorry, you have a new book. I'm sorry for interrupting. You got a new book coming out?
Yes, Confirmation, Investigations of the Unexplained, which is a novel. It's a science fiction novel, but I take the themes about conspiracies that I'm studying, especially the things that are really bothering me about this conspiracy culture, and I graft it onto this fictional story where the plot is that you have an unexplained event. in the world. You have the appearance of these large 20-ton granite globes popping up all over the world. So it is something that everybody can see, but at that point, different people start grafting their own belief systems onto it. And then the way that these various belief systems just refuse to get along, and then conspiracy beliefs become the most destructive.
Doctor, thank you. We just can't say, oh, it's something about an alien, or you're right, some of them are very real and potentially very dangerous. Dr. Barna Donovan, who is a professor of communications at St. Peter's University. I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well done. Stay right there. We'll be right back right after this.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We're here with Dr. Glenn Wylie, who is part of the discussion tonight at Kessler Foundation, talking about helping veterans, the research that you and your colleagues are doing to help veterans, particularly around employment, quality of life issues. You're involved, Doctor, with neuroimaging technology. What is that?
So that's technology that we use to look at where activation happens in your brain while you're performing tasks. So we use a functional magnetic resonance imaging scanner.
A what?
A functional magnetic resonance imaging scanner, or fMRI. And we have people in the scanner and they do tasks while they're in there, and we can see where in their brain activation is happening while they're doing the tasks.
Yeah, by the way, I worked with Dr. Wiley and some of his colleagues trying to talk about how challenging it is to communicate certain very, I don't want to say technical, but clinical terms to the average person. So as we break this down, it's going to be interesting. Let me try this. You and your colleagues are very involved in research regarding, quote, Gulf War illness. Doctor, what is that?
So Gulf War illness, it's also called chronic multi-symptom illness, and it's a constellation of symptoms that includes fatigue and pain and cognitive issues. So let me give you an example. We had a subject come in a couple days ago, and he was a veteran. He had gone to the Gulf back in the early 90s, and soon after he returned, he started to experience widespread pain in his muscles and joints, and fatigue, both physical fatigue and mental fatigue. So physical fatigue is like, the fatigue you feel when you run a marathon or do something physically strenuous. And mental fatigue is the fatigue you feel after you do your taxes or something mentally strenuous. And you and I experience these kinds of fatigue when we do something kind of big, like run a marathon. He was feeling this kind of fatigue all the time, every day. And you can imagine that had a really big impact on his quality.
Actually, you said you can imagine. I actually can't imagine. So help folks understand. So what would that veteran be dealing with in terms of his or her ability to have any real quality of life and potentially be gainfully employed?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it has a real impact on your ability to work, because he was just exhausted all the time, every day. And he would go to bed tired, he would wake up in the morning still tired. And also socially. I mean, to be in a social situation, it does take energy, and he would end up avoiding it just to go home and rest.
We've known each other for a while, and one of the things I know about you is that beyond your clinical expertise in your research, you care deeply on a personal, human level about the people you help, particularly the veterans in this case. How hard do they work to try to put themselves in a position to have not just a great quality of life or a solid quality of life, but also to work, to have employment?
Yeah, a surprising number of these veterans, despite the fact that they have, chronic fatigue and chronic pain, are nevertheless still employed. I mean, they put themselves out there every day. It is amazing.
You also have a relationship and work with the Veterans Administration. Talk about the connection between the foundation and the VA.
So we've built this bridge between the foundation and the VA. And so for me, for example, I sort of split my time between those two organizations. And we do a lot of the research we do at Kessler, because we have a really good neuroimaging center. And then a lot of the other more clinical stuff actually is done at the VA hospital, because that's the right venue for that.
Doctor, give me an example of how the research that you're involved in at the foundation
can actually help, does in fact actually help veterans who are being served by the VA.
Right. So the research I do is in mental fatigue. And
once you find out how challenging it is, it's interesting. Someone says, oh, the research around chronic mental fatigue or cognitive fatigue, which means the same thing. Once you know it, what do you do with that information?
Right, exactly. That's the next step, and that's a really important question. And that's where we're going. So right now, the study that we've just completed is looking at mental fatigue in Gulf War illness and how it works. And the next thing to do is to try to fix it, but you can't fix it until you know how it works. And so we have a number of strategies that we're actually starting to look at right now for how to alleviate fatigue, and that's where we're going.
You're optimistic about the future of not just the research you're involved in, but the impact on veterans.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think we have some good leads on things that will alleviate fatigue. We have there are pharmacological things that have worked in other populations that could work in Gulf War illness, and we also know that exercise has worked to alleviate fatigue in other populations, and so that's another thing to try in Gulf War illness.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Steve.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by TD Bank, Englewood Health, PSE&G, Delta Dental of New Jersey, New Jersey Sharing Network, MD Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey, and by Suez. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and NorthJersey.com. And by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
I could feel my lungs fill with oxygen, and I got my life back.
The Sharing Network means to me hope, life, and everything.
The Sharing Network was a lifeline to me when I really needed it.
We are an organ procurement organization.
The core purpose of the New Jersey Sharing Network is to save and enhance lives.
To honor those who gave.
Pay tribute to those who received.
Offer hope to those who continue to wait.
And remember the lives lost while waiting.
For the gift of life.